What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review podcast. Today I got a special guest. This is Joey LaRocca. You might know him from The BRIGGS and now The DEFIANT. Yeah, man, I've been listening to your music for a hot minute. So how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Time is the one commodity we can't really be wasting. So it's nice to have people willing to spend a little time over here on the channel, chilling out and getting to know each other. So the BRIGGS, are y'all, is it no longer, are y'all doing any shows or anything? I don't imagine you've got any new music coming out or anything, huh?
Well, we do things from time to time. We did actually do like 3 or 4 shows this year. And we actually have one coming up in November.
Okay.
In Long Beach. So like we still do things here and there. And actually we are, we've been chatting about doing a new EP. So we actually, do have some new music on the horizon for the BRIGGS as well.
Oh, that's excellent news. As I wasn't quite sure. I Googled a few things the other day. I was just kind of trying to get, some information, and I wasn't getting a clear answer anywhere. I thought, I'll just ask.
It's funny too, because sometimes bands like split up and then it's really finite. So we kind of faded away. So like no one really ever knew where are they broken up? Are they still doing things? Some people think we're an active band, like, hey, come to Jersey or come to, and we're like, no, we're not, we're not that active that we're just on the road all the time. But we still do stuff here and there.
Gradual decline in touring and putting out albums, so it is a little muddy, but it's all good though, man. I like the news that you're still doing things occasionally and willing to put an EP out, because I like your band a lot, so that's good news to me. But I was looking up stuff, just trying to get information, just to make sure I had my stuff in the right order, right names and things. You guys are labeled as a folk band on Wikipedia. Did you know that?
No.
I thought that was so strange. I mean,
we get, for the longest time, we would get a lot of, Dropkick Murphys or Boston-esque band, this kind of a thing. So that might have just come from that folk punk, where it comes and then it just drops together, and now we're just a folk band.
Yeah, I saw it and I was just like, trying to run through your catalog in my head. I was like, I don't think there's anything really folky about them. Maybe a little bit oi in there somewhere. It's like more of like a rock and roll punk rock. It's right in the vein of stuff that I listen to with One Man Army, the BRIGGS, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff I really like a lot. A good rock and roll, guitar tone and rhythm with clear vocals that I can understand, and lyrics that I appreciate and stand behind. So yeah, that's awesome, man. The BRIGGS is a good band. I was so excited when I saw the lineup for the DEFIANT, man. That's a band right there, buddy. My goodness.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great group for sure. And it's all dudes. I mean, apart from Pete was the only guy that I didn't know prior to the band. But I mean, Johnny and Dickie I've known for 20 plus years,
Nice.
And Greg has been a really close friend of mine for like the last 10 years. So.
Oh, okay.
And
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. And I mean, so that's pretty much kind of how it came to be, was just out of the fact that we all kind of knew each other. And, like Dickie had reached out to me, of just about music in general. He was sort of soul searching at that point and, putting things together. And then I had actually linked him up with Greg because I thought they'd be a good fit together. And I was like, hey, you guys should perhaps work together. Anyways, they actually started doing stuff. The 4 of them were working on the project.
Oh, nice.
Before I came in. And then Dickie had actually hit me up about doing a few collabs, like just writing collabs. And so we had collaborated on a few songs, and that's when they hit me up about coming in and just being part of the band.
That's amazing. It's funny because with a band with members such as yourselves, at least in our world, I mean, that's a pretty notable lineup. And I saw it and I was like, doggone, that's crazy, man. And I didn't know much about Greg Camp up up until recently, so I feel like I owe that man an apology. I didn't know a lot about him. I'd never really been into radio-esque music, so I didn't know what he was all about. But I
Yeah.
did know the name, and so when I saw the lineup, I was impressed by it. But the more you look into it, it kind of formed pretty organically. Like there was no, it was just, hey man, this is my friend. Hey man, I know you. You want to hang out? And it just kind of, because I've talked to you and Pete, and I
Mhm.
know Johnny like kind of from down here in Houston, and so I've heard now 3 different iterations, and it all is exactly the same. Yeah, we were just kind of hanging out, and then we hit up, dude, and we were all friends, and I think that that is the reason why the 2 songs that I've heard thus far are so fantastic, is because it was an organic thing, and it just, that's when I think the best stuff comes about. Being forced into something, sure, I don't know, I don't know much about that world, but you know, an organic group of people is the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is very organic, and also just like it's a great everyone that is amazing at what they do. So like, you know,
Oh,
it's kind of it's cool. I mean, like Greg and I actually had worked on a project together before the band. We were doing like a thing, just the 2 of us. So we
okay,
had already together, and we have a lot of mutual respect for the, you know, what we do, because we've always been like fans of each other's creations and and abilities. So we were already doing stuff prior to that, you know. And what I love about working with Dickie is that whenever like I would send him like a demo, or send him, you know, an idea, and he could just whip up lyrics like that. And I just always thought that
dude,
was so cool. Like
yes,
I'm a lyricist. And you know, it's like,
yeah.
and I like my lyrics, but it I feel like it's a lot more tedious of a job. But he just seems to be able to just whip it up really quick and really easily. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that it's effortless, and that, I mean, I don't know what goes on in his head in terms of like the effort that goes into it, but it
Sure.
feels very effortless, you know. And the turnaround is so fast, you know. He can just turn something
Yeah.
out really quickly, which I love.
I was also I was a vocalist when I was in music, and I've got a lot of friends that do music, and I've come to like the decision that there's 2 kinds of lyric writers. There's guys that sit down and like want to write a song, so that's like what they do with their time, is they go to write a song.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that are doing things and they write a song. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
more of the first, I think. I go, okay. Now occasionally I've had it where I've been driving and I have to pull over and write stuff down. But generally speaking, I'm like, okay, I need to go write some stuff today, and I need, you know, I got these 2 songs I'm trying to fill up, and we got practice on Thursday, so let me go ahead and put some work in it. But like, yeah, I've had some people that just amaze me with their just ability to put together, and not just a song, but something memorable, catchy, and
Yeah,
substantial.
it's not trash. It's great.
Right, right.
It's poetic, and it's really genius, you know. But it's fast. It's just, that's a really
Well,
good combination.
it's got to be pretty exciting to work with, and I don't mean to not give anybody else their flowers, but Dickie Barrett is like, I mean, that's a legend. Like I mean, I don't even know, man. I grew up with the Boss Tones, man. They're one of the first bands I ever heard that got me into the music I'm into. So it's a little crazier to me. I feel like there's like a generational gap for me when I heard like the Boss Tones, and then I was hearing stuff like Street Dogs, the Briggs, even Dropkick, but it was like Rancid, NoFX, Boss Tones. First 3 bands I ever really heard that
Right.
got me into this stuff. And it's like, wow, that guy's, I mean, he's been doing music since the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy he's doing music again. I'm sad for the reason why he's doing it, but I'm also like, I don't know, man. This could turn out to be something special, because when you get in a position like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially with him and like Pete, you know what I'm saying? Like in these odd, weird situations,
Yeah.
out of that will come greatness, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I feel like with the record, there's definitely plenty of reference to it, and that it tells a really great story, and the story is really intriguing and very powerful, you know. And so I, like with the record, I really feel like it, you know. And it's not any kind of, you know, pointing fingers or any kind of like bitterness. It's just really, but it's cutting. It has like some depth to it, and it's a real story
Yeah.
that you want to hear. You want to hear the story, you know. You want to know like,
Well,
what does this person have to say, based on
right.
chance that occurred,
Well, there's a maturity. Like he's always had really good writing. Like his lyrics, his storytelling ability has always been there. I mean, you could listen to stuff literally from the '80s from him, and it's on par with what he's writing right now. It's like all the quality is still there. So there being some maturity to the lyrics, and the storytelling not coming from a place of like venomous anger. It's like they've had time to chill and like
Yeah.
regroup, and then like, okay, well, it is part of me now.
Yeah.
Let's create something out of it.
It's very yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, that is an important aspect of it too. Of course, you got to take any experience that you have and then kind of sit with it for a second and then kind of gather your thoughts in a articulated way, which yeah, I'd say I'm really excited about it. We're only now like less than a month out of the record coming out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's been such a long road. We finished the record last November, tracking wise, and then
wow.
And so we've been like, and then the getting it mixed, and then doing the mastering, kind of sorting out the kind of game plan and everything took such a long time. So for us, it feels like it's just been forever.
I'm sure.
I can't believe we're actually in the in the home stretch where we're just like, finally this thing's coming out.
Well, I ran into Johnny a few months ago. I worked part-time at a theater bartending, and I just saw him walking by. It was the weirdest thing because I'm like, I was just cleaning a glass, and I look up and I'm like, I know him, and because it's kind of far away. And then when he came in, I was like, oh crap, that is Johnny. And so we spoke about some things, and he told me like I can't really say much, and I had heard the band name. I already knew it existed, but I didn't know much else other than that. And he's like, make sure and pay attention because when the single drops, you're going to want to hear it. And that was accurate. And so when it dropped, I was excited. Then the next song comes out, and I'm blown away by how it is also of the same quality. I like the presentation a lot. The artwork y'all are dropping is ridiculous, man.
I'm a fan too. Yeah. The guy that it's Dickie's guy.
Okay.
Love it. Everything he puts out is so cool.
Man,
I love the whole look of it. It's cool.
The aesthetics of the whole project thus far have been, I would say, perfect for what you're going for. I mean, it's got to be. Pardon me, my throat's acting silly today. One of the things that I think is the silver lining to it taking so long is that it's very clear that y'all had a particular like goal in mind, and you weren't willing to let that not be accomplished in order to rush an album out. Because I mean, especially now, like what sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense.
I agree. And part of that too, though, to be honest, is not my doing it all, because I'm one of those definitely like rush through, like let's go. But
yeah, I'm not very patient either.
Dickie has a very clear vision of what he wants this project to be, visually and musically and stuff like that. So he's done a really good job of kind of honing in and making sure that it's all the right elements that we want along the way. And then in terms of sound and all that too, I'd really give a lot of credit to Greg for that, because Greg is a perfectionist when it comes to a lot of that, and he puts so much time into redoing things, making things better, constantly figuring out how it can be better, and I applaud him for that, because I have to say I'm more lazy on that front. I'm just like, it's good enough. Like, let's go.
I'm probably more in your camp with that. And Greg, and the more I learn about him, the more I kind of wish I had learned about him way back, man. He seems like a really great guy, and his musical talent is way up there. I mean, the guy's great at what he does, and I didn't realize that he had written basically the entire first single. Like, that's amazing. Like, yeah. I didn't have any idea about that. So he's a guy that I'm quite a bit more interested in now. And you come to find people at different stages in your life. It just felt so weird to me that I didn't realize that's who it was. I don't know. I feel like I should have had some of the knowledge that I didn't, and it was a weird thing when I realized what I was misunderstanding. But I'm sorry.
It's funny. Greg and I actually met through our kids. So our kids became friends at school. like when it was like 8 or 9 years ago now. And so they came over for a play date at our house, and that was when I met Greg. And I didn't know that about him until we had met in person.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool. And then we kind of figured out we knew a few of the same people and stuff like that, obviously just being involved in the industry and stuff like that. And then we kind of became closer friends as a family. You know, we just became family friends and did a lot of stuff together. And then, you know, during the pandemic, and we decided to start doing stuff together musically, and we started working on some stuff. So, but yeah, we've been pals for a long time. He's a great dude, super talented guy. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just cool. I mean, it's a great group of dudes. You know, like Johnny and I, we've been Street Dogs and Briggs have probably toured together, like, I don't know, 8+ times. You know, like the first Street Dogs tour was Briggs and Street Dogs. And then from there, that was like in 2003. And then from there, like every year we did probably 2 or 3 tours together.
I'm pretty sure I've seen y'all play together. Like, I'm almost certain of it. You played Austin. Oof, my memory's not going to pull that back. But yeah, that's a fantastic tour though. Like, that is exactly the kind of tour I'm interested in seeing. 2 bands that have enough similarities to be like on the same bill, and enough differences to be completely different, you know, otherwise. And yeah, that's a good lineup. Man, how old are your kiddos, if you don't mind talking about your family at all?
I have a 13-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son.
Nice. Yeah, I got 3 kids myself. So when you're talking about, I got family stuff to navigate, I was like, bro, yeah, I get that. I got my dudes are like 10, just turned 9, and then 3. So I'm like, we waited a long time and had another little monster. But that's cool, man. I love to see families in our community. You know, when I was a kid, a lot of the people that were in the punk rock community didn't have that. Like, we were all missing dads, or moms weren't around, or moms were working 3 jobs. Dad was a scumbag. And that's how we got into that community to begin with. So it's cool to see people from that world fostering families that are like, you know, at least paying attention to each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, you know, it's like all of us that grew up doing the punk rock thing as teenagers in our 20s and stuff like that. Now we're all, you know, parent age. So most of us are pretty good people.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
dude, now we're that generation of, you know, teenage punks that now are all old and getting into this whole family thing. Yeah. I mean, like, I it's fun. I mean, like, my son's a hockey player, which is
Nice.
something that I never really expected to happen, because I'm not a sports person at all. I never
Me
really
neither.
got into sports ever. But he's just always been into sports. And we just, in the last like year and a half, have basically become full-time hockey people. So that takes up a lot of time. It's like a full-time job, just getting him to, you know, every practice and game and stuff like that. So, but
Dude,
yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
My daughter, no, spending time with them is the best part about it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to do it all of it. It's kind of cool to be involved in something that you weren't expecting, and then like all of a sudden you realize that you want to be involved in it. My daughter's who's the 9-year-old, she just started. She's never been super active. She's a creative type like we are, man. She wants to paint and draw, and she likes to play music and this and that and sing. Bro, that girl sings her behind off. And she just decided she wanted to try to do this 5K run. And I mean, I literally was like, what? Like, you want to do a 5? I was like, do you know how far that is? And she's like, yeah, I said it's really far. We're gonna have to practice a lot. And I was like, all right. And if you want to do it, well, you know, I said, I can't run that far. I need knee surgeries. But my wife is like, I'll go do that with her. And I was like, all right. So I kind of just watched from afar. But then the other day she comes up and she's like, hey, so Mom said I could do taekwondo. And I literally was like washing a dish. And I'm like, okay, what is happening right now? I'm like, taekwondo? And so, yeah, like, and it's amazing how just those 2 little things that she wanted to do temporarily to try them out have taken up an immense amount of time. A couple of days every week that we have to go there, pick her up later, drop her off earlier. It's pretty wild. So I can imagine how like a full-time hockey thing that takes up a lot of your time.
Yeah, it sure does. But
that's awesome.
It's fun though, because it is a great community, and there's I'd say there's a lot of crossover too with the punk rock community and the hockey community, you know. So it's
that and soccer too.
Yeah,
Those two communities have a lot of crossover for sure.
definitely. So I mean, it's definitely it has been a kind of I fell right into it. You know, and everyone that we all of our basically our hockey family, as we, you know, as we refer to them, is like we get along really well. It's like it's all very like-minded people, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, I meet a lot of my friends and things. So I own a couple of smaller businesses that I'm trying to grow. And before COVID happened, I had a comic book shop, and people always tell me like, "Oh man, it must suck to have lost that." And I'm like, yes, of course, that sucked. I'm in a better place now. Like I wouldn't have my channel. I wouldn't be doing any of this. I have a small record label that I do tapes and stuff on. Wouldn't have that. But I would go back and do the shop again if I knew it was going to close, because I met two of my very best friends in that place. So like, life is full of it's a roller coaster, and if you're too afraid to try some stuff, you're gonna miss out on so many cool things. And so, not being a sports guy, like encouraging your kid to go do that, and then go in there, you meet a lot of cool people you wouldn't have met otherwise, and it's kind of a shame, if you don't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry, you said.
I was just thinking, yeah, right.
It's a weird dynamic being, because when we were younger, at least myself, I don't know about you, when I was younger, I didn't really want to be around anybody that wasn't involved in our music, or our scene, our culture and life. I didn't really have any desire at all.
Yeah.
And then as we get older, we have families, that stuff becomes less important. It's still like the foundation of who I am. But like I realized that, okay, well, if I don't branch out a little bit, I become part of what I don't like, which is the person that doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to have any other opinions put in front of them. It's interesting how age, brings upon wisdom and just all these different things. It's a weird thing being in the middle of my life. I find it strange. I think about it a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yes, I mean, for sure. I mean, we definitely branch out. I mean, it's pretty cool too. I mean, like to see that where everyone kind of winds up, and see where we all kind of land. Because yeah, you never really know where kind of life will take you, and where you'll wind up. And it's cool too that there are a lot of people that even from back in the day that we were that we knew each other way back in the day, that we're still friends, we're still pals, and in this case but the Defiant is sort of like that in ways that like I never expected. Whereas I've known Dickie and I've known Johnny for a really long time, but it's not like we hang out all the time or anything. It's like we're in different cities. We don't. But then to come full circle and just like end up being in a band together, which was I would have never expected that, 20
right.
years.
That's awesome. That's got to be a pretty cool thing to think about. And yeah, that's the flip side of the coin too, of like branching out a little bit, is I still really enjoy going out and seeing people at shows that I've known 20 years, because I'm 41. And so I've got friends that I've had for almost 30 years now, since I was a little kid. As a matter of fact, one of the guys that owns one of the like punk rock clubs down here in Houston is called The End. So that dude's name is John. And on my little tape imprint, I've got this band called Poppers. And so we're talking one day, and he's the bass player for that band. He's a young kid. He's like, yeah, man, I'm going to this place to meet this dude named John Hale. And I'm like, wait, John Hale? And I was like thinking like, that's kind of an interesting name. I was like, how do you know this dude? And he goes, oh, he owns this club. And I was just sitting there and I said, is this the guy you're talking about? And I sent this kid a photo of me back in like high school. And it's me standing next to that guy. He goes, wait, yeah, is that you? And I was like, yeah. And I said, bro, I've known that guy since we were 5. And he was like, what? I said, yeah, we lived across the street from each other my whole life. He's actually the first person that ever showed me anything remotely punk rock. That guy's probably the linchpin that pissed my mom off my whole life. Yeah, dude, it's interesting how you can have people in your life that long, and that a fair amount of us stay involved in the same communities. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, also there's a new crop of kids, which is really cool to see. There's so many young kids getting into punk rock and stuff like that. Which it's fun to see that, because I, like when I was younger and getting into it, there was such an energy to it. There was so much life and love into this scene. People were just, you don't really realize it at the time. It's just you're living it, so it's not.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, like, whoa, that was cool. Like there was so much of this scene going on, and like everyone was, we'd be going to all the shows, and it was just like you didn't have to like beg people to come to shows. Like everyone wanted to go to these like
right
little shows that were like, at community centers or whatever. And so I remember feeling that, like, man, what happened to that? Like, that's such a shame that doesn't exist anymore. And then, it just took a while. It took
right
that to finally come around. And now I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing these kids putting on shows, backyard parties and all this kind of thing. And it's going off, and it's like, it's real. It's like a real scene again. It's like, this is awesome.
There's a lot of young kids doing stuff that I'm not even aware of really necessarily. Like, it is cool because there's generational gaps there. And I think you get a little towards your like mid-20s and you're like, man, I got other things that I need to put my time into. And then you start to like veer away from it a little bit. And then when you try to go back, you're not sure what's going on. And you're like, is this still really valid? Is this really happening still? We had a thing down in Houston where a couple of our better places closed. And for me, that's when the door closed kind of. And I kind of stopped going around because I didn't even know where else to go. Right. And then when I got sober and stuff, I, dealing with a lot of personal demons and things. And I started deciding I was going to go back out and venture out into the scene. I think one of the first shows I went to go see again was, my wife is a normie. She's never been to any of this stuff. And I took her to go see actually, oddly enough, this band who was playing with Lars Fredricksson's other act. And she knew who Rancid was. And I was like, we should go see this. It's in a small place. It'll be a cool thing for you to be up there. Because in her head, she thinks of Lars as like this, other famous guy because she's only seen him on things at these fests and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, dude, he's just like a regular guy. And this little club is tiny. It was really cool to go back and dip my toe back into that and be like, oh, no, I still had that way inside of me. I didn't realize that. I was like, all right, guess I'm fully back in. It didn't take much. It was wanting to go back to shows and things like, on a regular basis and stuff, put my time and energy back into helping grow it again or whatever. Just be a part of it. If you don't go there, you're not helping anybody. So,
right.
But what is the direction you guys want to take the Defiant in? Do you have any goals that you want to reach with the band? Like I guess like a short term, like within the next year and a half. I'm assuming you want to go with this one album.
Yeah, I mean, we have pretty regular meetings and talking about just like kind of what's going on, where we're at, what's happening on the horizon and stuff like that. I mean, we definitely have lots of plans to do tours and to do festivals and get on some cool stuff. I mean, that's really what we're that's where we're at right now, because the record's so close to coming out. And so now the plan is kind of what are we going to start with in terms of live? Like what would be
right.
would be the best way to kind of start it off? Because we've gotten a few cool offers of shows to get on and things, but we're it's being a little choosy of just like, well, we don't want what do we want our first shows to be? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like it feels a little bit. It feels like there has to be a little bit of a ceremony to it, because it's kind of a little bit of a big deal to kind of have those first shows. So that's been what we've been talking about and chatting about, kind of figuring out towards the end of the year, we gotta do some stuff live, and what is that going to look like? So we don't have anything set in stone yet, but that is the conversation. The conversation is, what does the next year look like in terms of touring? What does the next year look like in terms of what we're doing actively as a band?
Yeah, I would imagine y'all have quite a few people interested. I mean, if I was in that world, that would be something I would be excited about. I would be trying to get in contact with you guys. to get you on a stage down here in Texas somewhere. I mean, and yeah, you do want to be a little particular with your first few because they're going to be talked about. They're going to be filmed almost certainly. And you want to make an impact. I
Yeah,
think
we want to make it cool. We want to make it a thing rather than just like, we open the show or whatever. But,
right.
I think it could just be fun if we did it. Like we really put, the full effort into it. And we don't, it's like we don't really, or I should say some of the guys, not myself included, don't half-ass anything. I'd say I do, but they don't. So, it's gonna be good, and it's gonna be, it's gonna definitely make an impact. When we get out there and do it. So.
Oh, I think it's gonna be great. I really do believe that because I mean everything about it was so perfectly timed on accident. I don't feel like it was an intentional thing. I feel like it just happened, but it was an accidental perfection thing because even down to the name, it's not like a snarly like street punk type of name necessarily, but it can give you that attitude if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
But the logo is like really nice, and I don't know. I think the whole package is pretty great, man. It's got enough accessibility to it to be really big, and it's got enough of the punk ethos to still be something that could be. I would assume it has potential to be gateway for a lot of people to hear it and then dig into further stuff, especially hearing your projects and everything. Everybody's in the band's been a part of. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big lineup. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too ahead of my skis, but it definitely is like, it's exciting because I feel like what we've created is really good, but I'm excited to do the next one. Like I'm excited to now continue because also like, when you create a first record, you're figuring it out still, you're kind of figuring out what's the voice of this band. And so now that like I feel like we've established that for ourselves, and with writing this good chunk of songs, I think we have 13 plus songs. That I'm excited to just kind of go to the next step, and move and what does the next record sound like,
That's a musician for you.
That's exciting, but I mean, that again, that's like, hold on there. Let's worry about playing some live shows first before we talk about doing another record.
Oh, I mean, every band I've ever been in, though, we get like an EP recorded, and I'm like, man, let's write some new material. They're like, what are you talking about? We haven't even played these songs, and it's like, yeah, but I want to keep going. That's the creative nature of musicians. Like we all do that to each other, I think, or to ourselves, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm able to attend some of the early shows. I would love to just be there for that. I imagine with the group of you fellas, the amount of things that y'all have been associated with, oh man, you've got to be getting hounded, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it. Probably a lot of people hitting you up for a lot of different stuff, promo stuff, shows and things. Are y'all practicing? How do y'all do practices? Do y'all do it in person at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is interesting. We are totally spread out across the map. We are we're pretty lucky that we have such pros in the group that have great setups and stuff like that. So we were able to basically do the record mostly remotely. We sort of consider Nashville to be a little bit of the hub because we've got two guys in the area versus the rest of us are spread out. I'm in LA, Dickie's in Arizona, and Johnny's in Houston. So that's where we meet. That's where we've met so far to rehearse and to record and stuff like that. So like
that's cool.
That's been somewhat of our hub.
Nashville's a great place to do that anyways.
What's that?
I said Nashville's a great place to do that anyways.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's a great town, and so yeah, so that's we've done our rehearsals. We try to, because we're spread out and we all have to go to one location, we make the most out of when we do meet. So like when we last time we met to rehearse and stuff like that was when we shot the video for Dead Language and got a lot of promo shots done and stuff like that, because you know, you make the most of the time that we have together.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's been our, you know, and then that'll be the next, depending on what ends up being the first shows and stuff like that will sort of depend on where we meet next, where we wind up, you know, getting together, and how what that all looks like. It really depends. I mean, definitely, I think that some of the first locations will likely be where would make the most sense. Like Boston, probably going to be
Yeah.
We definitely want to do some stuff. LA is obviously going to be a good location. Probably Nashville would be pretty easy because we've got a few people there. Houston,
Yeah.
but you know, we'll see. It really depends.
I think I would do great in Texas for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved Texas. I mean, the Briggs have done a shit ton of stuff in Texas. We've played Texas, you know, so many times, and that was like, you know, that was one of the first places we went outside of Arizona. You know, it's like once we started to branch out further, it's like we started going to Texas.
That's awesome. I mean, you could do like a whole 7 to 10 days here. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculously large place.
Ridiculously large.
I didn't know that Dickie you said he was in Arizona?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in Arizona. That is a little easier, I guess, than having him in Boston. I mean, that would be a massive trip every time you wanted to go meet up with you guys. So I've never left Texas. Like, I've never traveled much. I've done, bro. It's for when I was a kid, I didn't have the money to go anywhere. Like, I guess technically I've been out of the state because when I was really little, I was taken to Chicago, but bro, I don't even have a photograph of that. So I don't have any idea. I don't remember any of it. But my wife and I are trying to plan a trip to Vegas because we finally have some money. We're stable financially, at least, you know, mostly anyhow. And I just saw, like, we're trying to go at October because I had this other podcast with I guess it's this podcast, but I do a weekly one with a guest and then a weekly one with my friend Rob. We've never met in person, and it just so happens that we randomly were going to both be in Vegas on one day together. And my wife was looking at Punk Rock Museum tour lineups because I've got to go check that out, right?
Yeah.
And I was so bummed out. She got me really happy at first because she's like, yeah, dude from Less Than Jake's going to do the tour we're going to be on. I was like, that's amazing. Less Than Jake's awesome. And then, like, she sends me the schedule, and don't you know, the week later, Dickie's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, I may have to fly back out for that. Like, that would be, I couldn't believe when I saw that. I was really surprised. Have you been out there and checked that out at all?
I haven't seen it yet, no. And I was considering going that weekend for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Check it out anyways, and
right.
That'd be cool to see Dickie do it.
Well, when I saw that when I saw that Fat Mike was doing that, I was like, okay, it's Fat Mike, so I don't know what to expect. Like, it could be a joke, honestly. I wouldn't have been too surprised. And then, you know, and then I saw that he was taking it really seriously, and I was like, oh, this could be pretty cool. And then everything I've seen from it has gotten me so just antsy and jealous. I want to go so bad, and being it that I've never been anywhere, it's also that too, you know. So I'm pretty excited, man. I hope I can make it out still. If I do, I'm going to get some live footage out there and just, I don't know, man. That place, it looks so cool, man.
There's some really great people involved in it for sure. People that I've known for a really long time. So it's definitely looks like it's really cool. And we were asked to contribute some things. I still haven't sent them any stuff, but yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff and so much history there, you know. And it's cool because it's a really genius idea that, you know, you've got this whole community of people that that they know everyone. So like, it's all these people from bands to guide the tour. That's a really great idea.
The whole idea of it is, in fact, I think pretty genius because it's interactive, which I think is really cool. Because a lot of museums, especially like art stuff, you can't get anywhere near that stuff. You can go look at it, and you might be able to get a photograph with it.
Yeah.
That's it. And here they're like, no, man, go over there and look really close. You can go pick it up. And I heard that they have like instruments you can pick up and mess with and things. And they have a place where people like saw, oh man, David Teja, singer of the Casualties, has that other band, something Wolves. They just randomly played there. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, Yeah, man, what a cool experience. Well, we still got some time. I want to get to know you a little bit better. What kind of bands do you like when you're listening to stuff around the house? It doesn't, I mean, obviously it doesn't have to be punk rock stuff, but what kind of music you listen to these days when you got time to listen to something
Um,
while you're doing whatever?
well, I mean, funny enough, a lot of my music gets hijacked from my kids because I listen to music in the car and with them a lot.
Oh
But
man,
we definitely find we find our common ground for sure. I mean, we listen to a lot of Gorillas, and there's a lot
I
of
like the
great stuff
Grills.
to dig in there. You know, they've got so much great material. So like, I find myself listening to that a lot. There's a German band called Annemai Kantereit, which I really love.
Okay.
Listen to a lot, and yeah, I mean, I I tend to it's funny enough is that like for a long time I couldn't listen to the things that I listened to all the time, and because I just got so sick of it, like I honestly
Right.
couldn't listen to the Clash or listen to Blitz or listen because it was just I had heard it so many times that I just didn't want to hear it. But now I'm finally getting to that point. I'm getting over that hump where I'm like, I like, I put on, the first Clash record recently, and it was like, damn, this record is so good. And and it's like hearing it again freshly to be able to enjoy it rather than just like I've heard it so many times that I'm like totally done with it. But now, like listening to things freshly and that I haven't listened to for like maybe 10 plus years has been really enjoyable.
I like that too. Uh Rancid is my favorite band. It's pretty well known across my channel. I cover them a lot. Uh and Out Come the Wolves is my favorite record. And it's one that I kind of had that feeling for a little while where I was just like, yeah, dude, I get it. It's still my favorite. It's never gonna change,
Sure.
but I don't want to hear those songs for a while. And then they dropped that new record this year, and it rejuvenated like all of their albums for me. I've done a lot of stuff in covering like ranking their albums, and that whole video was weird because it ended up being nothing like I expected, even though I thought I knew what I liked. And um, a band that I covered yesterday is Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
We did a top 5 Pennywise records video, and bro, I didn't realize how much of their music I genuinely love. Like that, I think they might rank way higher in my personal list than I would have thought. Every damn song they got is good. Like I was like, what is going on here, man? So yeah, listening to something that you've heard a lot after a while is really the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been and that's another cool thing with having kids too, is just to be able to introduce them to things, and then you also listening to it in a little bit of a different lens too.
Oh yeah,
hearing it first from the perspective of having someone hear it for the first time, which is
right.
Do.
That is interesting to do that. Like my kids listening to music for the first time, some of the stuff that they heard. My daughter, who is now listening to stuff like The Interrupters and Catbite, and she went to her first 2 shows within the last year. She's starting to kind of form her own opinions and have her own likes. My oldest is on the spectrum. He couldn't care less about music. It kind of kills me, but he doesn't. He likes the new Rancid record, oddly enough, but other than that, he doesn't really like any music that I've ever shown him.
Yeah.
But
things that they gravitate to are always different. Both my kids like the Toy Dolls, which is great because that's one of my favorite bands.
Nice.
But in terms of that's probably where they're, in terms of punk rock bands that they mutually enjoy. Like they have their own things. My daughter's really interesting where the things that she gravitates towards are kind of across like around like off the map, sort of like around odd. Like for instance, she really loves the Adolescents. But
that's awesome.
What's weird about it is that like she'll love a band and I'll go, great, you love this band. I have like 5 other bands that you're gonna love because you
right.
Love this band. And she never responds to it. I'm like, you like this
band? Never, dude.
And she's like, nah. How do you like this and not like this? Like that's insane.
That's exactly what my kids do, and they do it with movies too, man.
Oh,
dude, kids are awesome because they're so like unpredictable. You just don't know. You're just, I guess, man. And I just try to flow with it, but it does get under my skin sometimes because I don't really. It's like, man, I was really excited and you just crushed it, man. Thanks, buddy. And he's like, sorry, Dad. Just walks off. I'm like, all right, bud. Yeah, man, that's hilarious. Excuse me. I'm a little surprised I'm about to mention these two, well, at least one of these artists to you, but in on the same kind of topic of kids listening to music, I really don't like stuff like MGK a whole lot. I liked a lot of his rap stuff back when I was younger. I still think it's objectively well made, but like I do understand it and I appreciate that it exists because like my kids and kids their age are going to get into that music and then they're going to be like, "Hey dad, you got Blink-182 records, right?" And then from there hopefully it'll get to like, "Hey dad, you know who the Descendants are, right? Hey dad, the Ramones."
Right.
And then
the gateway, you know.
yeah.
That's a good point. There are definitely those gateway artists that can kind of help start to get kids to dig into the other music and stuff like that. But I mean, it's cool to see that there's young and fresh and new bands too, though. You know, instead
Yeah.
of so much of the legacy stuff, which obviously, you know, I'm somewhat biased because at this point we're legacy artists, you know what I mean? 'Cause we've
Yeah.
been around for so long. But I love to see like kids gravitate towards new bands and the bands that speak to them in
Right.
their generation and because I mean that's what we did. And you know, it's like we liked new bands. We liked what was coming out and you know what spoke to us as closely as possible to you know what we were dealing with and what we were going through. So it's cool for me to see that. I'd love to see bills like festival bills where new bands are the ones that are sort of taking over the headlining spots and not so much always just older bands that are like, you know.
I 1,000,000% agree with that. Excuse me. I do believe that the reason that the festival bills are the way they are is because the people that want to see those artists are the ones that are our age. They have the money to go do these things.
That's true too.
And I think in like one more generation, we're going to start seeing other bands that maybe we aren't familiar with or didn't grow up on. It'll just be like a generational gap. And so like, I do think it's cool that when you have stuff like the MGKs out there, Travis Barker specifically produced a bunch of music that while I may not really love a whole lot, there's a bunch of young artists that are gateway artists. There's that dude Kenny Hoopla, who I actually do really like. He's like what I would consider the next generation of that kind of music that I like. It's just underground enough, but it's accessible. It sounds good. There was that band Magnolia Park. These are the ones that I figured the young kids are going to be asking about probably before they get to stuff like the Descendants and even maybe Blink-182. So, but yeah, I would love to see I would like to go to a fest and see a bunch of bands. I have no idea what they are, but I know that it's this type of music generally. That would be cool.
Yeah. And I think also like part of what led me to punk rock and where I learned about it was so much through skating. And I see that there's a lot of skaters these days too. And I think that might have, you know, maybe contribute to that at least. And I mean, those always went hand in hand.
Right.
And it was skating and every skate video was just full of punk rock songs. You know what I mean? So
dude,
how I discovered so many bands.
So many bands that way. And it's weird because I've heard that exact sentence in a bunch of different podcasts lately. Like, man, I got to punk rock from skating. Skateboarding has helped a lot of people connect. It's while talking about Pennywise, skateboarding was all over that conversation. Skateboarding is definitely a community that I was a part of that helped me get in touch with people and meet people because it's a very similar. It's very DIY. It's kids doing things that they want to do. I used to build my own skate boxes and stuff. And my friends and I had ramps and things that we could skate on. We didn't have little skate parks. There's a little place around the corner from my house. It's all cement. And I'm like, yo, this is amazing. When I was a kid, this didn't exist, man. So
that is a really cool thing that like, same thing. There was no such thing as a skate park like in LA at all when I was growing up, you know, and now it's like, every park around my house, there's a skate park there. I'm like, this is amazing. We did not have this. And that's great. That's awesome that they have that, you know, that there is a place to go where you're actually allowed to do it. I mean, fun was, to go, trespassing and
Yeah.
so, but still, like but we never had anything that had like that was set up.
I know. It's wild. It doesn't even cost anything. I can just go do it. It's wild.
Right.
And
The other one.
there's pros and cons to all of it though, man. Like, because while we like it, it's also the other day I thought when I was a kid, I didn't get up till like 11 noon sometimes. Oh, I get up at like 8 o'clock. So like I got up and I was like, all right, it's 8:15. What am I gonna do? My wife was working in the house. I thought, well, I don't want to be all over her, and she's got work to do. So I'll go catch some skating at like 9:30 and then get breakfast on the way home. And that'll start my day really good. And you never could have convinced me that if I was going to go out there, that I'd run into a bunch of yoga moms and a bunch of little kids not on skateboards or bikes hanging on these ramps and stuff. I was so disappointed, man.
Jeez.
They were all nice kids, though. I ended up skating around them and just kind of talking to the little kids. I got kids myself, so it's easy for me to talk to kiddos. I was like, hey, is your all's parents over there? They're like, yeah. I was like, all right. Then I don't feel so awkward skating around you. If it wasn't their parents around, I'm getting out of there. I don't want to be around kids that aren't. Man, not in 2023, man. It's just dangerous being around people, man. You can't even just walk through a mall now. You just feel like weird stuff is happening everywhere. Maybe I'm just paranoid. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't want to hit any of them, like run them over or something. Like I had to bail off my skateboard a few times. I'm too old to be doing that. That's what scared me. But yeah, man, it was an interesting thing seeing that like a skate park is a place where people would be out doing yoga and like I don't know. It was wild, man. I can imagine it's similar to what California is like. I don't know. I'm probably way off on that, but I literally thought that when I was out there, like, oh, this must be what it's like in Orange County.
That sounds very LA for a bunch of you.
Yeah.
Skate ramps. I mean, yeah, it is funny though. I mean, like, I shouldn't say it's really necessarily funny, but there is, how like it always feels like there's times are always getting worse, times are getting worse, something like that, and it's not necessarily true. It's just a perception that people have. But this has been a particularly odd time. I mean, I've definitely seen things that I've never seen in my life in terms of the way people act.
Dude,
interact with each other. It's crazy. Like it is like people have lost all, sense of reality and sense of like interaction with people, and
it's crazy.
Just manners. Manners.
No, nobody has manners. I hate to say it. I don't want to like generalize the entire younger generation, but they don't have like a work ethic that I thought they would have. They just don't. Like I work around a bunch of young people, man, and it blows my mind. Like I like to work and make a little money. I like to have money to take my family out. And so like I'll go to like my job and there'll be like 5 kids. I'm a bartender, so I'm kind of set off by myself. But all the little waiters that work in where I work constantly, hey, can I go home? I want to go home. I'm like, doggone, bro. And you complain about your Drake ticket cost you $500. Well, yeah, dude, like you don't work, you don't get the money, and you go watch these crazy expensive things. Like, yeah, you're broke all the time. Like, pick up a shift. There's plenty of people giving them away. It's weird, man, but that's kind of what you were talking about, though, is kind of what I meant by being around kids. I like kids. I have 3 kids. I like being around kids. They're fun, man. They're innocent. But like you can't even go and talk to somebody anymore because it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it gets perceived as something, it could just be a big pain in your ass. And it's not necessarily any kind of weird stuff I'm talking about. I'm just talking about in general. Like, hey, don't talk to my kid. You're like, they were on a ramp. I was just trying. I'm sorry, man. Like, and people do have like that happens a lot. A lot of the Karen culture, if you will, is real. I see it all the time. I see people acting insane at places, and I'm just like, if you weren't always telling them that the customer was always right, maybe they wouldn't think they were right all the time. Like, if we all kind of got to the conclusion that okay, we're not perfect, we make mistakes, then, but when you feed people that information, hey, you're perfect, they start to believe it. Whenever my kids were little, my mother-in-law would call my kids perfect, and I was like, hey, I really don't like that you say that. And she was like, what do you mean? They're my perfect little angels. And I was like, okay, sure, but when you leave, they still want to be called perfect little angels, and they're my children, and I'm their father, not their friend. I have to be able to like do what I need to do as a parent. Yeah. And so that's how society has been treated, is like Oh no, you perfect. You're perfect. And I don't mean this in any kind of derogatory way for anybody of any kind. People do what they want. I don't care. But like when it comes to behavior, you go somewhere and people misbehave in public places.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, that's
I work.
interesting perspective. You know that maybe we've been coddled as a society. So
Oh, absolutely. Well, I work at Alamo Draft House. You ever heard of it?
Mm.
It's a theater with a bar and restaurant inside of it. Like you can come to sit down and have an actual bar, but when you sit in your seat, you can get a full menu, anything. I mean, there's certain items we don't carry because it's a theater. It'd be kind of messy, but it's a full menu. We have rules. One of our rules is you have to be on time to the movie. You can't be like, I think it's 15 minutes is the window. So about when the trailers stop, you have to be in your seat. You can't have kids under 6, and you can't be talking around your phone. And you get one warning and you're asked to leave and you don't get a refund. It's amazing to me the amount of people that show up 30 minutes after the movie start. And then I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? And I'm like cleaning dishes. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't let y'all go in there right now, man. The movie's already started. They're like, oh, I already bought a ticket. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. I can give you a refund. Or I can schedule it for another viewing. I'm not trying to keep your money, but I can't let you in this showing. And they just flip out and they want to know, why can't I do what I want to do? I'm like, we have a way of doing things here. It's a better experience for it, but they don't want to hear it.
Well, that's interesting too, because you definitely have a perspective that maybe not even everyone has because of working in that industry, especially where it's like, yeah, you're going to see a lot of that in terms of being a bartender, of seeing people act out like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't tell me what to do. And
It's wild.
Because I guess I don't have to see that side of it so much because I've never really worked in that industry. But yeah, I could imagine that would be really challenging to have to deal with people in that arena of telling them that what they're allowed to do in a certain establishment. And people really don't like to hear that.
It's crazy, man. And the thing is that I'm pretty good at diffusing a situation. So my boss knows that. They like that I'm up there a lot. They appreciate that I'm able to do that. And I've only had to do a couple of things where I had, this could be a bad situation. I've been there a little over a year, and I've only had a couple of things where I was kind of worried, like, okay, they're gonna be really mad and like email somebody, and I'm gonna have to go sit down and talk about it. That I haven't had that happen yet, but I've had a couple where I thought it might. And it's weird. It's the craziest scenarios too. It's never what you think it's gonna be. Like I had a guy drop off a bunch of high school kids, and we have a bar. You can't do that. Like it's illegal. Like they can't be in there without you. And so this dude drops off his kids, and I'm like, hey guys, what's up? Are y'all meeting somebody inside? And kids, most people, if you just ask a question, they'll answer it honestly. So they're like, no, my dad dropped me off. And I said, oh, hey, go grab him real quick. You guys can't be in here without him. Didn't even mess the kids up. They're like, all right, hold on a second. They ran outside. I guess they called him back. He turned around and came back inside. I can't explain to you how angry this guy was. He was screaming and cursing and yelling at us, and like, over the fact that we didn't want to drop his 4 teenage boys off in a place that has a bar and is like an adult establishment. Like we're advertised as like an adult place. We don't even have we don't let kids in under 6 at all. Like it's crazy, man. He was wild, dude. And that's a part of society that I wish I didn't know. I guess I'm kind of glad because I don't have blinders on, but it's dicey, man. People are interesting, man.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Perspective to have, that's for sure.
He might have been having a bad day. What do I know?
Yeah, but still, I mean, I don't think that's a good excuse.
not even a little bit. I just try to be nice about it, man. It's interesting, dude. I love talking with people. I love hearing stories. I like helping people. I'm a people pleaser, man. That's what I like to do. It genuinely bums me out when somebody's pissed at me if I didn't, unless it's for something stupid, then I'm like, whatever. But like in general, and even on my channel, when people get mad about something I say, like I just did a review for the new Blink-182 songs, because I mean that's a big band. Why would I not review that, right? Yeah. But I'm a fan of like their stuff from the 90s. I've been listening to them before Travis Barker was a part of the band. So I was excited thinking we're going to get some like good old fashioned, like, I don't know, for their return you would think it'd be like, something fast, and I was pumped, and it wasn't. It was like this like acoustic-y emo thing, and I thought pretty nice about it, but I was like, yeah, I didn't really care for it. I thought it was boring. Objectively, pretty great. Subjectively, not for me. You'd have thought I said they're the worst band ever. They suck. I hate them, and I hope they all die. Like people were so angry with me, and I'd like to say it didn't affect me, but it did. It bothered me because I didn't understand it, and that's how I feel when I get attacked at work, man. You try to tell somebody they can't have a beer when they order one. Oh my, bro, worst thing ever. But well, it has been an hour, my friend. I so appreciate your time. I really enjoyed talking with you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I look forward to more music from the Defiant. When is the album coming out? End of October?
October 27th. Yeah.
27th. Yeah. Yep. Oh, he's gonna be at the museum like right then.
Same. Yeah.
Dude, I gotta talk to my wife. That would be so crazy to go do that. That would be awesome, man. I met him once way back when, man. I would love to just meet him again. It'd be awesome. But is there anything you want to shout out? Anybody you want to shout out? Musicians, bands, movies, books, anything you're interested in before we go?
No, I mean, basically, we got the record coming out on the 27th. Our third single also comes out like the week before that. So we have one more song that will kind of give a little sneak peek of the record. And then the next week it comes out, and I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait for people to hear it. It's a labor of love. It's something that we put a lot of love into, and I think it's damn good.
Well, I for one am very excited to hear it. I will definitely be doing a review for the next single that comes out. I did one for the last one. I really enjoy what y'all are doing. I wish you guys the best, and I hope we can talk again one day, maybe down the road after the album's out for a little while. I can reach back out and we can see how the reception was.
Definitely, we should do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. Have a great day. It was awesome talking to you. If you ever need anything from me, let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
Cool, man.
Awesome, dude. Have a great day.
All right, you too. See ya.
Later.